The most exciting thing about thinking and working politically's brand is that there are so many people working on really interesting research and projects that it's become really hard to keep up with it, even with the support of the TWP community of practice. What a great problem for us to have. But there are three things I think worth mentioning in this regard. First, TWP is not a fixed methodology or some secret code. It's a way of thinking about a problem. It's impossible to package as one thing. I think the proliferation of approaches is great. DDD, local solutions, adaptive management. Why does there need to be an orthodoxy? I'm seeing more widespread attention to issues of incentives, awareness of interest in their means of protecting or attacking the status quo, of change processes. All this is great. It signals to me that more of us in the global development field are figuring out ways to integrate awareness of TWP into our thinking and into our doing. Second, of course, widening attention does not mean that TWP insights make it easy to change deeply embedded arrangements that sustain inequality or disenfranchise millions from economic or political life. But does mean that more attention is being paid to systems, not only to symptoms. The TWP approach may be less heroic. There's no one technology or one magic policy or project that solves a complex problem. But there's increasing appreciation, I think, that a TWP approach is, in the end, more practical. Practical in two ways. It helps us see systems and also helps us see how the incremental thing we're working on either fits or does not fit into a systems changing strategy. So, not simply a technology constituting a smart city, but more about smart for who and smart how. Thirdly, TWP helps us get beyond analysis to action. Skeptics used to complain, perhaps many still do, that a political economy analysis is really good at coming up with reasons that something will not work. But more and more we hear about how a TWP approach helped focused needed actors on a doable pathway or a wider coalition, or the needed complements to a technical solution. An example, colleagues at the Urban Institute recently reviewed the experiences of African agriculture ministries and the problems of unimplemented policies. The Gates Foundation, which had funded policy units in ministries or in think tanks to work alongside ministries, was concerned that good policies weren't getting implemented. So, after much consultations with experts, donors, local and regional organizations, my colleagues developed a toolkit, which was basically a self diagnostic political economy framework with practical questions that focused on steps to confront implementation challenges at the front end, not at the back end of policy support. The tool organizes implementation challenges and steps to both become aware but also address and perhaps overcome those challenges. But what reaction did people working at the front lines have when they assembled at a meeting in London last month um, to have a tool that walked them through the TWP thought process? Well, participants told us that the political economy approach is like building a boat with the weather in mind. It helps you design your ship to anticipate storms and shoals, fair winds and foul, and build in steps to deal with that weather. While some of the staff in our funder were uncomfortable with the word political, the participants said it was essential. Secondly, they didn't coin the phrase, but they kept coming back to the word implementability as the organizing goal where a TWP approach sharpened their thinking and their doing. So TWP doesn't solve many of the hardest questions, but it sure helps in thinking through the practical aspects of navigating them. Should our work target the weakest communities with the most need, or those with the most prospect of making good use of the aid and our advice? How does localization move from being a slogan to insights about how to balance working with needed elites and power centers at the same time as representatives of the marginalized? TWP doesn't change our business overnight. There'll always be those who think we can simply buy development with more cash or with our brilliant ideas. But applying a TWP lens to our own work should make us appreciate that the seeds sown a decade or longer ago about institutional change in political economy and development are taking roots in many contexts. That's exciting, even if it's not always labeled as the TWP agenda.